Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Royal Talons Creator Studio Live, now on YouTube. So excited to be on YouTube this year, especially for everyone who can't make the live shows. It's going to be so much easier for you to go back and watch this at your convenience at a later time or whenever you'd like to go back and look at it because they'll be there infinity and beyond, right? Infinity and beyond. So I want to welcome everybody to the show. This is our fourth show for this year so far. For those of you who are just watching for the first time, my name is Jeff Olson. I'm the Art Education Director for Royal Talents North America, and I'm going to be your host. Today's giveaway is going to be a set of 10 20 mil tubes of our Rembrandt oil paint. So a great giveaway. And we're going to throw in some of the Rembrandt oil paper, which is just a wonderful service to work on for sketching, for finished pieces. Very convenient for travel, for plein air, etc. So one lucky winner is going to pick up those goodies. To be eligible to win, you just need to reside in Canada, the US, and make a comment or ask a question during today's live broadcast. So we have a marvelous guest with us today. She is a member of the illustrious Putney Painters based in Vermont, well known for her amazing animal portraits, and we're going to take a look at some of those today. No longer taking a back seat to other subject matter, she's drawn inspiration from classic 19th century animal painters, and in 2010, she was instrumental in promoting the subject of dog portraits as fine art. She's collected internationally and has earned accolades and awards for outstanding and unique works. She teaches throughout the U.S., including workshops at the Scottsdale Artist School in Arizona, the Kinsler Studio in Creative Arts in Chatham on Cape Cod. She is a juried member of the Salmagundi Club in New York City, the Oil Painters of America, the American Impressionist Society, and the Portrait Society of America. Everybody, please join me in welcoming Johanne Mangi. Johanne, how you doing? Got to turn your volume on. Johanne, we got no volume yet. Let me turn it on for you. There you go.
There.
There we go.
I knew I missed something. Oh my God. Yeah. No, it's been really good. I said I didn't gain any weight over Easter weekend. So that was a
That's
big
fantastic.
plus. Yeah, well, with all the pies and all that sort of thing, it's kind
Lots
of
of
hard.
good food for Easter
Yeah.
for sure.
I have a little bit of a sweet tooth. So anyway. But yeah, no, it's been a busy year so far.
Going
And
by fast, isn't it? April already.
I was thinking of that, and this is such a great time of year because of the length of days and all the flowers are coming out, and I have a lot of commission work that I'm behind on. I'm not good with deadlines, and especially now with all my daffodils are out and the hyacinth, well, everything that all the pops of color are going on, and I'm chomping at the bit to paint some of this stuff because after a while, when you're doing commission work, you can get kind of bogged down and sluggish, and you need to change it up. So that's
Well,
yeah.
the weather's coming around. I know a lot of folks are chomping at the bit to get out for plein air painting. I know that I'm excited to be at Pace in May. So looking forward to seeing everybody there back in person after my hiatus. So it's going to be so nice to get out on the road again.
That's going to be a great event.
Yeah.
Yeah, Asheville. Oh my God, it's just like it's beautiful.
It's
We
going to be
were.
my first trip. I've never been
Oh
before.
really? I haven't been there in years, but it's great. But I can't go this year because I told you I'm teaching.
Yeah.
Last year, I beat myself up by cramming everything in and just doing a road trip. Like you're used to road trips. You go from here to there to da 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 da. And I thought to myself, after I did it, I was like, oh my God, I almost killed myself because it's exhausting. So I said I wouldn't do that this year. So I have a workshop in Connecticut, which we can talk about later, but in mid-May, and then there's Pace, and then I'm flying to Santa Fe to assist. Sherry McGraw and David LaFell are doing a workshop in Santa Fe, and they asked me to be their assistant because it's a workshop on horses. And so
Oh, cool.
I mean, I'm excited to, because I will get to paint, but I'm also there to help them with,
Yeah.
they, like Sherry said to me, we don't know anything about horse anatomy, even though they could paint anything.
Yeah, they could paint anything. Yeah, yeah.
And so that's really why they want me there. And I'm like, because I said, what, you want me to fetch coffee? What do you want me to do? I'll do anything, you know. So that's what I'm there for. The place, it's Bluebird Studios in Santa Fe, and they have 4 horses there, and yeah, it's gonna be amazing. The problem though is we're flying Memorial Day weekend, which
Mhm.
sucks. But
Be busy
and
weekend.
yeah, but we're going early because of the holiday. I don't want to travel on Monday, so we're going on Sunday, and we're going to go looking for wild horses. There's a couple of places to go see wild horses.
Oh, fun.
Do
That'll
that.
be that'll be really a cool experience.
Yeah. Well, did you know that in outside Scottsdale, they have wild horses in one of their not national park, state park or whatever.
Mhm.
And it's beautiful. So we went searching for that. We saw a couple. We didn't see the herds, but it was very cool.
Yeah.
And he came up, walked right by me out of the water, like, it was really amazing. Yeah. So I'm anxious to do that again, but I'm hoping to see more. So that would be really, really
You
cool.
got some great things lined up, and we'll try to circle back at the end too and give you
Yeah.
who are
Yeah.
watching some info. Yeah, some info about finding out where Joanne's going to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
For folks who have never watched the show before, the basic setup is we're going to have a quick little interview. I've got some questions for Joanne, and then we're going to look at some slides of some of her paintings. And then I'm going to turn it over to her. She's got a fun demo for us today and going to share some tips and techniques with everybody. So I'm going to try to get through my part quickly and give Joanne as much time as possible for the demo and all of you to be able to ask questions. I'm going to be kind of moderator and host today. So I'm going to be both chatting and taking notes and watching the questions and chat on YouTube. So bear with me if I'm slow to the take on some of this, but I should be able to get to as many questions, hopefully, as come through. So with that said, let's go ahead and start just a few quick questions to kind of set the mood. John, I was going through your bio again, and I love that you mention and give a lot of credit to your mentors. Looking back at all those wonderful experiences, what advice has had the most lasting impact, you think, on your work and your practice?
Wow. So I would David LaFell, and it's the people who have had the most influence on me has been David LaFell, Sherry McGraw, and Richard Schmidt. Having been part of Putney Painters was huge. And it kind of organically happened. I mean, I don't really use that word, organic, but it just kind of evolved, and I got to know people, and it was an incredible experience. But what he said a few things, and here's the interesting thing for people who never had a chance to meet him. He was a brilliant like phenom when it came to painting. But the few things that were a takeaway for me that were huge was that he always believed in everybody who was, in that circle, Putney Painters, that they should go out and pass it on. Oh, he was a big proponent of that, of passing on what you learned. And I hadn't really thought about teaching. I mean, I might have vaguely, because I did it in my professional life in corporate work. I was a healthcare, it was in the healthcare field. And then I did a lot of it when I was consulting. So teaching wasn't out of my wheelhouse. I wasn't uncomfortable with it. But as far as with painting, I hadn't really thought about it till he put it out there and was like, you need to share what you know. And I thought, oh, I can do that. I know how to do that. And then he was in love with paint. And all you have to do, I always say to people, you might not have met him, but if you read his books, you know who he is, because how he wrote was how he was. And so a very entertaining individual. But he was in love with paint, and he would paint anything because he loved the paint. It wasn't really that way for me. I mean, I loved the paint, but I didn't really kind of embrace it all until I locked onto subject matter that really was personal to me and was important to me. And obviously that was, the animals. And I used, I've had up to 6 dogs in my herd, and they've always been inspiration to me. And my commission work, which grew out of my friendships with people, and that's how my business developed, was really through referrals. And so we're going back a ways. And the biggest was that Sherry McGraw commissioned me to do like 5 portraits for her for one Christmas. And it all took off from there. I mean, I was doing work with National Great Pyrenees Rescue. I was doing their Christmas card, and other things for them. But and I'd have like friends who were artists that would ask me to paint their dogs. So it was kind of like a groundswell, and it just built from there. And and now it's evolved into something else. But he always said, Nancy Gusick, who's also is a good friend, she paints what she loves.
Mm-hmm.
And Richard would always say he loves what he paints. So meaning it doesn't matter what he paints, he loves to paint it. And Nancy was like, no, I have to love what I paint. And I think I fell into that realm. Yeah. I had to really love what it was. And then from there, you can branch out, because now you're feeling more confident. I think that's part of it. You get confidence because you love so much of what your subject matter is that you put the work in. And that's obviously what it takes. And then you get braver and you say, oh, I want to paint this other thing, whatever it is. And I think it just builds from there. So for them, I mean, there are other things, because he always had shared tidbits and stuff. But when I started to spend more time with Sherry and David, everything changed for me, because I was doing things from watching people, but now I had more with them. It's an understanding of the process. So it's not about techniques. It's not about, I mean, there's concepts and principles and whatever, but it's more about understanding what the paint does, what the light does, what happens in the shadow. Once you understand, you never forget it. So lots of times when people go to workshops, they can paint what that person paints. And I've had this happen to me years ago, a couple of workshops, but they can't go paint something else that wasn't in that workshop, because they don't have a general understanding of what that process was. That's what I found. So when I teach, and I always tell Sherry and David, I've gotten my best material from them. But it's all about understanding, and it doesn't matter whether we're painting dogs, horses, whatever. It's the same. It's just the subject changes, but the principles stay the same. And once you understand how things happen, you don't forget it. You don't. You take it with you, and that's what you remember. So when you're painting, you're like, oh yeah, and of course I try and teach people paint handling is the other big thing, is being able to put dark over light or light over dark, with the same brush.
That brings up something, Joanne, that I don't think we've ever talked about before. We've always talked about, you getting into it, but we've never talked about when you started oil painting. When was the first time you oil painted? How did you become introduced to the material?
Well, I always drew. I always liked to draw. And this is funny, but about maybe 20 years ago, 18 years ago, a friend of mine, there was this crazy person out on the shoreline, and he would paint sunflowers on like buildings and doorways. And he was like the local character in one of the shoreline towns. And he was doing these kind of, it wasn't really that he was teaching. He was just kind of had space, and he'd invite people, whoever wanted to come and paint. And it was with, they'd use bin and then dyes in the bin. Bin is a house paint, and like a latex house paint, and then they put these dyes in them. And she said to me, come on, you want to go with me we're gonna paint these sunflowers or whatever it was. It was wall art, wall art, right? And she said, I need somebody to go with me. So I went, and we had such a great time just throwing paint on a canvas, and very colorful, and not knowing anything. And then I was had been taking, I started to take drawing, over with somebody who was teaching at Yale. And then this painting idea, I was in a show, we still laugh about it. They had this show of like all these artists, and they asked me to put one of my paintings in, and it was a takeoff on a Marc Chagall mural. Good stuff at all, right? But I thought, gee, I think I want to really know how to paint. And it started there. Just the interest started with some fluky, whatever. Probably similar to these paint and sip places.
Yeah.
Like if I could see somebody saying, wow, this is really cool, but now I really need to learn how to do it. So that's how. So then I went to there's a place in New Haven, and it's really like for beginners. They've never really established. It's called Creative Arts. I know the Chatham one has a similar name, but this is called Creative Arts. It's in New Haven. And so they're really good. They do a lot of pottery. I have friends that are like, I have a friend who's like really a master potter, and he teaches there, but they do all sorts of watercolor, oils, and they had open studio for drawing. So I'd go there for that. And then I took a basic painting class because I really wanted to know the basics. And then from there, I wheedled my way into an old painting group when it was a small painting group in this historic building. The group started in 1902, and I got myself into that group for, I think I was part of it for like, I don't know, maybe 5 years. But in the meantime, I had met Richard Schmidt. I came across Richard Schmidt's book in the library. This is how I found Richard
Alla
Schmidt.
Prima. Yeah.
No.
Earlier.
No. 1976. I think it was 76. He published a figure book. I have two now. They're obviously they're worth a lot of money now. I mean, to get one, but I was like, oh my God. I want to paint like this. And it was all early on. I didn't know that these people existed. And so I searched him out, and it kind of, when it was before the internet,
Yeah.
like you're in the library looking at art books. And that's how I found him, and how I came across, how I learned things. And he looked at, these wonderful art books and stuff like that. And that's really, there was just a lust for learning.
Yeah.
And then I met him, and I met the people who were around. And it really took off because at the same time I took a drawing class with Sherry McGraw and Kathy Anderson. It was a painting drawing class, and Kathy Anderson was there. That's when I met Kathy Anderson. So this goes back a ways. And we just like hit it off. And same with Sherry. And it's like history.
It's so
And
important. It's so, especially when you're first starting out, to have that sense of community and shared experience with people.
oh my God. And these workshops. And I was very in the beginning, I didn't know what I was doing. There was a place in Guilford, an art school there. And I always remember taking a class there. I didn't take many classes. That this one person, they didn't, how they used to say, don't use white, don't use black. Like, it was that kind of class, So and then I got to the point that I was like, don't use umber. Yes. It was years before I put umber back on my palette because I didn't know how to use it. I didn't know how to, without making my paintings look dirty. I didn't know. I just didn't know. So I realized, having painted with Richard Schmidt, wait a minute, he doesn't have umber on his palette, but he has Rembrandt on his palette. And it was like, oh, you know what? If he can paint with Rembrandt, I can paint with Rembrandt oil paints. And there was no umber on his palette. So I was like, I don't need umber. Now I love umber. I don't have it on there all the time, but I do paint with, I have such an appreciation for umbers now.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
at the time, I was like, I think I've heard Charlie Hunter make a statement about not being responsible enough to have something on his palette. So I like to say, I'm not responsible enough to have umbers on my palette. Back then. So, time passes and you get more educated and more adventuresome. And but yeah, so it's I made a decision early on that rather than be crazy about taking workshop after workshop after workshop, I would really pin down who I wanted to learn from. And I didn't want to do, oh, I'm over here, now I'm over there. And have so many different ways of doing things. You do pick up tips from different people because there's so much out there, and it's amazing. They'll do things and you're like, wow, I never thought of that. What a great thing to do, right? Or they mix a color a certain way, and it's fun. But I didn't want to be pulled in a lot of different directions till I was confident enough with how I painted that I could venture off and take what I needed from that other person. Because I think that's how people get lost.
Yeah.
Right? Don't you think there's a lot
Yeah,
of
I think so. You want to be adventurous and try new things and experiment because that's how you learn, but it can be very overwhelming, especially if you're taking classes or workshops with a lot of different people and they're saying things that are different, sometimes contradictory.
contradictory?
Yeah, and that can be really overwhelming when you're just starting out. So you do kind of have to, at some point, take a stand and say, okay, this is what I like about that, and this is what I like about that, and kind of find your own path through all of it.
But I'm going to say one thing about that is that sometimes it sounds contradictory, but it's not, because there's always exceptions to the rule.
Sure.
Right? So it's more you're not understanding how they're using it or what they're doing, or they're not explaining it well enough to you. And because I've seen things, and I'll say to my husband, okay, if I didn't know better, this person's making things very confusing. You know, because they're not able to articulate, you know, what they're doing. They know how to do it and they can do it intuitively, but they can't necessarily explain it.
Explain it.
So people then beat themselves up, but it's not their fault necessarily.
Yeah.
I think they're not, they have to give themselves a break,
Yeah.
you know, because it does take time. And you just have to, and people are afraid. They're afraid to put paint down. They're afraid, you know, it's just, okay, I'm confession. Okay. So when I decided, oh yeah, when I can't believe I did this, because I'm a like both feet in type of person, right? When I first wanted to learn how to paint, and I've met people who've done this, so this is not an unusual thing, I would find excuses not to paint. I learned everything about materials. I knew more about materials and history. Like I was a font of information, but not on the canvas, because I wasn't confident enough in it. And I found that I was avoiding it because I was afraid. So I feel like when I teach people, I understand where they're coming from, because they see my personality and they say, oh, you know, of course she's not afraid. She's bold and brave and, you know, whatever. And I'm like, well, I wasn't always that way, you know? So it's like, I understand that feeling of trepidation. And so I do things in my workshop to get them over that. Like it's fun stuff. It's fun. They don't even know they're learning till after they learned it. And they're like, I can't believe I did that type of thing. But I couldn't, I don't know why, but it's like, I talked more than I painted, you know, when I was learning. And my husband said, yeah, but I'd spent a lot of time doing like color wheels, and I wanted to understand relationships. And so I did a lot of that, and that was fine, but I still wasn't putting the paint on the canvas. You know, and I would say, I'm embarrassed to say, but it was like 2 years. 2 years before I really committed to saying, you're never going to be able to do this if you don't start putting paint down.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Let's
know?
look at some paintings, Joanne. I want to make sure we have time too for the demo. I love talking to you. I always put together these interview questions,
Yeah.
and I have them all listed there, and it's really to get people warmed up and talking. But I really didn't need them with you, Joanne.
No,
I
no,
don't think I needed to warm you up.
no, no. Yeah, I know. Yeah. Well, you know, I get excited about it because
It is fun. I love
I
talking
want
with you.
everybody to feel that.
Yeah,
I think that painting really enriches your life,
for
because
sure.
there are so many people that are creative and they need an outlet for that. Now, this painting, this is one of my dogs. I don't paint my dogs as much as I'd love to, because I don't have enough time. But this was an online demo for Scottsdale, actually, how to paint a white dog. And I was finding that a lot of people didn't understand that even though you paint a white dog, there are darks in the white object. And so that was kind of the premise for the workshop. And I
How
was
big is this painting?
um this might be 14 by 18. It's probably 14 by 18. I try and make the demos big enough. I'm actually starting to do demos smaller so I can try and finish them during this. But I try and make them, I was doing bigger things, for a demo because I wanted everybody, usually like when I'm in class, I usually try and do a bigger one so that they can see it from wherever they are. And
Right.
then also sometimes my placement isn't the best because I'm filling up the space because I want them to be able to see it. So I don't think everybody understands that, but I like the way this one came out.
No,
And
for sure.
yeah,
Well,
so
the brushwork is really wonderful, John. I just love watching you paint and seeing the results.
oh, oh,
The
thanks.
impressive quality of your brush marks and the descriptive quality of it are really wonderful.
Oh, thanks. I'll take that compliment. Okay,
And
so
here's this cute little guy.
oh my God, this guy, he's over here sleeping. He's over here. At the end of the thing, I'll pull him up so you can see, they can see. Anyway, he comes, I have a setup downstairs too. I have a couple of setups so I can paint wherever I want. And if I want to go outside or I want to paint on the porch. So I have this setup downstairs and sometimes I'll paint the dogs because they're right there. And he hangs with me. And so he was sitting right like down by my feet and he'd give me this look and then he'd go back to sleep and then he'd give me, and I go, oh my God, I have to paint this. I just have to paint this. So I did it on the fly and I touched it up after because it needed some anatomical corrections. But when I do these things live, I don't worry about anything that can be fixed after. It's all about capturing certain things and getting information. And
Right.
so, people ask me, well, how do you paint a live animal? And it's like, well, first of all, you got to get over the fact that they're going to move.
Right.
So what I'll do is I might quickly make marks of what I need. And then if they do move, sometimes they move back to where they were, or sometimes I go over and I make them lift their head or something, so I can see. But you get over that sense of, it's just like when I first started painting in this portrait group down in New Haven, I couldn't handle that if a model moved. Like if they didn't get back right to where they were, I learned up at Putney that Richard would always talk to the models because then they have a more natural look about them. And Sherry will do the same thing. They'll engage the model. And so they learn about the model so that informs the painting.
Mm-hmm.
And you get used to little changes when they have a break and then they go back and and when I first started, I just couldn't handle it. I was like getting frustrated because they're moving. But so I think, over time you realize it's really not that big a deal because I'll go and I'll chase down, I have live dogs in my workshops because I think it's really important for people to have hands-on with the subject, and they have their own dog, but it's sometimes easier for them to see it with a dog they don't own.
I've got one more here. Yeah. Another.
Yeah. Okay. This actually, this is funny. You picked all the ones of my own dogs.
Not on purpose. Not on purpose.
No, I know. This was Suleiman, and this was a demo I did for Sherry and David on their Bright Light Atelier, Wednesday Atelier. And it was over 2 weeks, 2 different Wednesdays. And there was just something about this, the image that I have. And he had passed away not long before that I did this.
Hmm.
And this painting means a lot to me. And all my paintings are a lot about the eyes, and this doesn't really show his eyes, but it says everything about the dog. So
It's a
yeah,
great the position, the tilt of the head, the way the paws are out. It's just a wonderful composition and yeah, very soulful look.
yeah, I really, yeah, which that's a whole other subject, but how do you do that?
And then I've got some here, some not just
Oh
dogs,
yeah,
but I've got
those,
some wild animals as well.
yeah, that's why wild dog.
A wild dog.
Wild dog. Well, it's a wild dog, so I thought it needed to be wild. I put some real strong
The
color in.
colors are fantastic in
Yeah,
this.
I mean, I had so much fun painting this. I wish I hung on to this painting. I really love this painting. Yeah, but you can't save everything. Like, the
I
problem is
love it.
people want to buy my best work, and I don't want to give up my
You don't want to
best.
give it up, yeah.
I want to sell all the other stuff.
I love these oranges and these deep
I,
reds, and then the little blue reflection on the
yeah,
nose
isn't
and
that
the eye.
something?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that was in a moment, that was after my first trip to Africa.
Mm.
Yeah, and I took some liberties, obviously, but that's what's so great about painting, right?
Yep. Yep. Exactly.
Yeah, so.
Here's another
Oh, and
wild animal.
yeah, this I did for Beardsley Zoo. Um, yeah, this was a tiger. Actually, she's not there anymore. She's in a breeding program,
Mm.
and um, she had her babies. I think she's in Ohio or something like that now. And
Sure.
uh, they're redoing the whole tiger habitat, um, which is going to be really cool. It's a neat little zoo. I've done online stuff for them and online teaching because it's a neat zoo because they only have endangered animals. And so every week we would paint a different endangered animal. And I've done 3 of them so far. And I thought I was done. And then everybody was asking, when are you doing the Beardsley Zoo? When are you doing it? I was like, okay,
I
I'll
think
do
I've
it.
got one more fierce beast here. There we
Yeah.
go.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You know, this was a demo too.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, on Wednesday, I tell you. I like doing these demos because then I do stuff I wouldn't maybe normally do. I don't know what it is, but this is, who Hetty Moran is?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, Hetty's one of the original painters, like Video Queen, Sunflower Queen. She's 80 now, I guess, but she was like one of the foundation teachers at Scottsdale, how many years ago, and then these videos, I mean, now everybody has a video, right? But she
Right.
was like one of the original.
Original song.
Yeah,
I'll
this
have to
is her
look it up.
cat. This is her cat, Peaches. But Hetty is just the most wonderful and a personality. She's great. Yeah, she's really great. Yeah.
And then I got you threw in a
Oh
couple.
yeah. Yeah. So at Christmas, usually I do these while company's here because it's like I'm like, oh God, company's here. I can't paint. So I keep the setup downstairs with
Do they
paints.
gather around while you're painting?
They later they come late. Well, they might check in, but and I just did this real quick. What did I want? I wanted to do the foil, and I had to. I and it came out better than I thought. Like I just didn't expect anything because
Mhm.
I had people there. Or, I was cooking. It was, and I just this is my new thing. The last 2 years is that I don't care if people are here. I'm painting. And so I might do a portrait of somebody who's sitting around there talking or something.
Yeah.
Might do that. And I'm very proud of myself that I do that because I get cranky if I haven't been able to paint. So Yeah, so I love this little painting.
Yeah, and then I got one more. Yeah, this one's
Oh,
really.
and this I did, and this was outside.
Mhm.
Yeah, well, I mean, and the poinsettias they were live. They were, by the window, and this was in the garden. Um, so I did, they're not spectacular, but it's not really the point. The point is that you're seeing things a certain way and
Right.
you're relating to it and you're putting it down. And, someday I'll get better at that. But
I
in
think
the
it's a great way to study things, and it kind of breaks apart what you do with the portraits, because you can see where you're taking the same color in the flower, but you're showing it in with different light effects and different positions in terms of reflections and highlights, and what's forward, what's back. I can see why it's appealing to
yeah,
kind of work out some of those problems.
yeah, exactly, because it's all translates.
Yeah.
And I was telling you earlier that I just get so bogged down with these commissions because they have to look a certain way. And sometimes I want to paint it a certain way. But although I had one recently that I had such a burning desire, we hadn't figured out what size and what the back and all of that. But I had such a burning desire to paint this little guy who looked like that little dog that's down there, my Jack, except this dog had a regular snout. Jack has like a little shortened snout. So I
Hmm.
was trying to paint him. And so I did this little 8 by 10 of him and just sent it to the woman, said, how do you like this background? And it was free, like I had, because she wasn't getting this painting. This was just, I'm putting it down. I'm trying to, she just absolutely loved it. And I said to myself, this is a great client. She's letting me do whatever I want, because usually they're very particular because they have in their head how the dog has to look.
Right, right,
And
right.
like I just have one I finished and I sent it to her. It was done, but not done because you have to have the approval. And she said, and here's the dog in the shadow, and you paint the shadow a certain way. And she was like, doesn't the ear can't she wanted to see more of that ear that's in the shadow? And I said, I explained to her how what a stronger painting would look like. You want a real painting or do you want a photograph? Like it's like, and she was really good about it, but most of the time so it's a struggle because
Yeah.
you're trying to create work that will stand up to any fine art piece, but it's a commission.
Yeah.
So that's, so I paint like the painting I did of Suleiman, my dog that has the paws going
Hmm.
forward. If that was a commission, it wouldn't look like that.
Yeah.
They wouldn't want it to look like that because they really can't see the face. But that painting says everything about the dog. So it's you have to have a strong constitution to do commission work is what I say.
Yes, yes. I've
Yeah.
had some uh, experiences with that myself.
Yeah. Oh, all my friends, and it's a love-hate thing
Yeah.
because it's great having commission work. It's great. I keep saying I'm gonna I do less of it. I do because I want more time to paint these other things I want to paint. But if I would consider not doing it all at all, so I could just study and paint, what I want. But I don't think that would make me totally happy either because I enjoy getting my work out there.
Yeah. And it's a good challenge. It's a good experience.
Yeah, yeah,
And of course, it's how we make some money too, but it's
yeah.
always.
I said, I just taxes. And I gave to Dick, my husband, I gave him all I had it all broken down and everything. And I go, I like making money. Like, feeling, so like I feel justified when I go
Yeah.
and order supplies and stuff. And of course, it's great having sponsors like Royal Talons, who I said to you, the reason I use Rembrandt is because Richard Schmidt used Rembrandt, and I love the paint. I love the paint. But I have a question. I use a lot of yellow ochre. I love Rembrandt's yellow ochre, but do you know I didn't use their yellow ochre for years because I didn't know you had the best yellow ochre on the market. I was using a different yellow ochre. And then I was out of it. And I think I was up at the facility, in Northampton. And I thought, oh, I'm gonna, there's yellow ochre here. I need yellow ochre. And I squirted it out and I'm like, oh my God, this is the perfect yellow ochre. Because no, seriously. And I thought, how did I not know this? And I'll tell you why. There were other yellow oak, beautiful paints, right? Other beautiful paints. But I found that they're too dark. They're too dark for yellow ochre. And your yellow ochre is just the right, it's just at the right, it's perfect. It's like really perfect. It's not too dark. It's not too light. Now, I'm not talking about the yellow ochre light because that seems orangey to me. I'm talking about your regular yellow ochre.
Right.
And of course it's buttery. And I think people don't understand, as educated as they are, because there's so much stuff online that you can access information, which I'm sorry that we aren't going to have time to talk about the Cobra and the new mediums, because I'm so fascinated by this whole thing. And I feel like I'm going to be a relic if I don't get with the program with Cobra and mediums. But anyway, back to yellow ochre. I was teaching, and I usually say to people, this is what I use. You can bring whatever you have, because I bring extra paint. So if I don't like what they're using, I squirt my paint onto their palette so they can try it. And that usually converts them. This last group, I had a lot of good painters, by the way. This last group, I couldn't believe how much bad paint was that they had. Student grade, like not just that it's student grade, but not the best, just not the best paint. And I always say, the panels are important because you can't push the paint around if you had bad panels. But oh boy, did I change my tune. I said to them, don't ever listen to me if I say you don't have to have the paint that I use. Scrap that. If you come to another one of my workshops, do not bring this paint that you have. You have to at least use the paint I recommend or a very similar grade paint, because people, they don't understand that they're struggling. They're struggling because they're not using good supports, good panels or paper or whatever, and they're not using good paint. They can't push it around. So that's why they can't paint like these people that they want to paint like. I saw that so much and I felt bad for them. So it's like, I make sure I have a lot of paint. So if they want to try my paint, I put it on their palette, and then they see the difference. They see the difference. But Rembrandt yellow ochre, I love that paint.
Yep, it's iron oxide yellow, PY42. It can be different. It can go towards brown. It can go towards red or orange, like you said. So really, whoever's manufacturing the pigment and manufacturing the paint, it can have different results. I like the Rembrandt transparent yellow oxide, which is
well, I use that all the time. That's like a staple.
Yeah.
That's like, I didn't even mention that, but they say, they'll look at it and I put it on their palette and they'll go, but it's so dark. And I go, no, it's not. Put it on the thing. And they're like, oh my God. Cause they were like, how do you get that glow? I said, oh, that's transparent oxide yellow. And they're like, but it looks so dark. I said, no, try it. Yeah. So
I'm going
yeah.
to turn this over to you now,
Okay.
Joanne, for the demo. We're going to go over a little bit. I hope that's okay with everybody, but I want to give you some time to go ahead and go through some of the things that you wanted to share with folks.
So yeah. Uh, I have, I have a couple of things that I thought we could do. First and foremost, I'm going to paint an eye because there are a lot of different ways to paint an eye, but I do it in a simple way. And everybody comments, I love your eyes, but they think it's more complicated than it really is. So I thought, listen, I love doing eyes, so this is a no-brainer for me. We can have a little fun. But I thought of something this morning. Now I probably should. Can I just show them here?
Yeah.
What is up? Do you have both screens up for me?
I'm going to spotlight your demo right now.
Oh yeah, but I have this thing. I want to show them grapes.
Okay, you show that first then. Yeah.
Okay. So here are grapes, and I got to thinking about an eye. And an eye is similar to how so this is, I'm going to teach you a still life thing here. So if you want to put grapes in a still life, you're going to learn something. So here's the grape, and grapes are what we call translucent. So what happens, you see now go to here, you know what? I'm going to just move this and show you this, because I decided that I was going to do this eye. Okay, so you see where the highlight is on the eye, and you see how light it is? It's because the same thing happens with the grape, okay? On the what should be the dark side is actually the light side, because as the light hits, it's passing through. So I could change the highlight on this dog if I wanted to. Like say I had a image and the light wasn't that strong, and so I'm punching up the light on the portrait. And what do I do about the light? Well, the light is coming from over here, right? So that's why this highlight is here. And I'm not going to talk about this other eye right now. We're just going to do this eye to try and show you something. But that's how you can control where the highlight is on the eye and where the light passes through. So say he has brown eyes. The dog has brown eyes, but when the light passes through, it's going to be lighter. It may not be that light. It could maybe even have a little orange in it, it could have a little green, whatever. You can do whatever you want, but that's what happens with an eye. So understanding that will help you read or make up what's going on with an eye. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to do that eye, and I might use a little bit of this palette here. I don't know. I'm not sure. But I need a paper towel. Okay. So if I were doing an eye, and I'm not going to do a whole dog because we don't have time for that. And this is the most important piece. So say this is a 12 by 16 because I didn't know if I was going to have time to do something else on here, because like another feature like a nose or something. But if I were doing this eye, on a portrait, and we're not even going to talk about size. I'm just going to do this so you can see it. But I would, so say I had, all right, you know what, just for here, let's just kind of, so you can kind of relate to what's going on here. I got a little transparent red oxide in my okay. So like say that's the center. Okay, and that's his ear. Okay, so his eye is gonna be, let's say he's probably down here. So I'm just doing this so it'll be easier for you to understand what I'm doing. Oh, actually. All right, so now you're getting a second lesson here, because this is how I would start with the nose. You see how I'm just not okay. So at least you can kind of see what's going on. There's sort of a nose. Okay.
Is this just the paint right out of the tube, Joan, or are you using a medium?
Yeah. Oh, no, I am using a medium. I wouldn't have to use a medium, but I am. All right, so now I'm just gonna stick an eyeball in, okay? And don't judge me.
And that's the transparent oxide red.
Yeah, that's transparent oxide red. So I'm just kind of putting something in here, right? So, okay. Just so you can kind of relate. Okay, there's two eyes, and I actually maybe can make this closer. Yeah, I could do that. Okay. So say, I'm going to do this portrait and I'm just kind of getting something in, get my bearings. Okay. So when I'm ready to go back into the eye, probably what I would do is I would look at the shape of this dog's eye, and I think more important that maybe what I do is do this so that you can see that shape, and I'll move this over. Like my Christmas lights? You see my Christmas lights?
I see that.
I was putting them away, and then I'm like, why should I put them away? Okay, so this is just ultramarine blue and transparent oxide red, because I need a dark, right? So I'm looking at the shape of that eye, and okay. So I just used like, I didn't make it round. I just, I'm seeing that, I'm just using, like, if you were doing a still life and you had a round object or something, it's better to do just like straight lines to go all around. But I'm looking at that shape. So the first thing I might do, and I do this different ways, but I might want to put in that, again, I'm just using ultramarine blue and transparent oxide red. So now I want the pupil. I want to put that pupil in. Can you see that pretty well?
It could be probably a little closer
All right.
if that's comfortable for you.
No, I can do it. Here, wait a minute. I just got to get this away from the board. How's that? Is
Yeah,
that better?
yeah.
Okay. All right, so you'll just have to trust me on the shape of the outline of the thing. Okay. So what I like to do is now I'm like, okay, oh, all right, I think I want to put that highlight in. Because already now, look, I got a dog. I got an eyeball, right? Okay. So wait, let's make it lighter so you can see it. Okay. So the next thing up would be, all right, so the color of his eyeball. So I might change, let's put a little, let's see. I don't think I can move the, okay, well, you just have to trust me. So now I've got a little Viridian. I'm taking Viridian and a little transparent oxide red. And I'm just gonna, and actually a little yellow ochre. Those are my 3 favorites to put together. So I have the pupil, but then as the pupil moves out to the edge, it has the color like changes a little bit. Okay, and now I'm going to do this outside piece. And that's going to be yellow ochre and I don't know, maybe I'll put a little orange in it just for fun. It's a little blurry, huh? To
It's
see.
not bad though. It
No,
is, it's amazing how getting an eyeball in there brings everything else to life.
so now what I want to do is I think I'm gonna put now I'm gonna I wanna, for context, I'm gonna do around it. What do you think?
Got it. Love it.
So I'm gonna use, I think I'm using I'm going to use transparent oxide red. These are like the triumvirate colors. Viridian, transparent oxide red, and yellow ochre. I'll tell you, when it comes to doing like some of this stuff with the dogs, oh man, you just can't beat it. And then my other favorite is I'll use Terra Rosa and ultramarine blue. And that'll be for under here, and maybe add a little, might add a little white to it.
There's a fun demo that I do with the transparent oxides, the yellow, the orange, the red, and the brown.
Oh,
Where I mix
really?
them. Yeah, I mix them each with different primaries. So ultramarine blue, usually, like you said, yellow ochre, and then a bright red, like a cad red light or something like that, and then do a scale across and then a tint of each of those. And it really shows
Wow.
versatility of the transparent oxides and creating a very sophisticated palette out of just a few colors.
So now what I'm gonna do is,
I see a bunch of questions coming through. I'm going to hold off till the end, but I'm definitely going to get around to these, and especially about the paint.
let's see here. Need a little more, this is actually, I've actually been meaning to paint this dog. Ooh, just got paint on my phone. We'll put a little dark here. All right, I'm not, I think I'm gonna, maybe, I need a little dark. I don't have all my paint up here. I have it over on my, need to put more paint up here. There we go. Okay. So lots of times when I do this, I will I'll just put a lot of stuff down because um and then I'll use those colors, I'll go back in. Need a paper towel. I'm I'm going to two different palettes here. I'm trying to, because I have it up. It's just better if I can get you guys to see. Um, and then, oh, you know what? Just got a little light catching over here. But can you see how I'm developing that?
It's wonderful.
But it's not, and you know what? Everybody's trying to be like so perfect when they're doing this, but the reason that they look so good is because they're not perfect. I'm just like, um, and I could use a smaller brush if I wanted to, but I don't really need to. And then this over here, let's see, need more of this. Let's see if I can build out from this. So
Here's a good question. So when you were painting these portraits, do you always start out with the eye, or is that just because you're giving us the demo?
Demo. Usually well, okay. What my first thing that I want to do is I want to get my drawing correct. So so I do the eye early on, but usually what I do is I have to place everything, which I didn't really work that hard to place anything here because actually I'm doing more than I planned on doing here.
Do you prefer painting on the white surface of the canvas, or do you tone your painting sometimes?
I sometimes I tone if I get a good idea. But I don't, it doesn't really matter to me with the portraits anyway. Because part of it is I don't know what I want. I could do like a neutral, but sometimes, until I figure out, let me put it another way. For me, I know what the dog has to look like, but I don't know what necessarily my color mixtures are gonna be because that's a whole different thing for me. So I experiment. I mean, I may be using stuff that's similar on my palette, but I may mix them a little differently. So for instance, I may be using ultramarine blue, and I'm using Terra Rose and whatever, but I may mix them differently. I may start with Terra Rosa and then mix ultramarine blue in it, or I may start with Terra Rosa and put white into it, and then I put blue into it. And that changes what these mixtures will look like. So, and then I might put, I just want to fix the shape of this, but you see where this is going, right? It's, I might put in, let me put it to another way. I could tone. Part of it is I'm a little lazy about toning. So I like to make my decisions as I go along. So I could tone and do a neutral tone and then put in my background. But I never feel like if I get to a point where I think I need to have the background in because the white is interfering with my choices, then I will do that. But I never feel like that I have to absolutely have a toned canvas. And I probably do it more when I'm doing a still life that I'll tone the canvas. But with these portraits, I haven't felt like, other than like I said, as I go along, if and don't ask me why I'm using this short brush. It's because that's what I picked up. Usually I like a longer brush, and I don't really want this brush. So I'm not set in my ways, I guess, is the answer. I'll do whatever I think, if I can just not tone the canvas, then I won't tone the canvas. If I need to tone the canvas, then like for this, I probably, could use, I could even use transparent oxide yellow, which is usually how I start all my paintings, are usually with transparent oxide yellow. And then I just put, some lines in, and
You ready for some Q&A?
yeah.
It's looking wonderful. It's just amazing how much the eyes communicate.
Yeah, it's like, but you see how I don't really, I'm just throwing paint down. I'm throwing paint down, and it all works itself out. I use the mixtures, like, you have to have enough paint on your brush, and you have to you can't be afraid to just put stuff down, and you see how it works out. I mean, that's basically what it is. You see what happens,
Well, I know folks are going to be rewatching this, especially when you first started it, because you kind of transformed magically these few brush strokes, and then all of a sudden, boom, it was there.
Yeah, so let me just make this better here. And the other thing is, I'm not afraid of, like somebody said, you put that highlight in, right? I could go back over that easily and just
Well, I put us on gallery view here so folks can still see your painting, and then also see us for some
okay.
Q&A here. Mostly it's just tons and tons of "you're wonderful, Johanne." Lots of kudos. You're gonna enjoy reading the comments for sure.
That must be all my students.
We've got some
I paid
regulars
them. I paid them
from
to
the
say
show.
that. I paid. You know what? I'll take a picture of that, because you can't really see what's going on here.
That would be wonderful. Yeah, you
Yeah, I'm
can
gonna do that
post it
because
on Facebook.
it'll be worth seeing that, I think. So what do I send it to you, or what do I
You
do?
can post it on that. There's comments, discussion in the events notice on Facebook, and you can post it in there. And if you post it on your Facebook page, I'll share it.
Because it'll be worth viewing that. And you know what? And I may decide that that's not done. The eye, anyway. The rest of it isn't, but
Right.
like the drawings off, but fixable. It's all fixable. And yeah. So like I see, the other thing is I'm not afraid to wipe that eye if I had to.
Yeah.
But you see how I'm just putting paint down, and I understand how the highlight works through the eye. So that's how I can come up with, there's a reason that there's light on that side. So I'm telling you, if you have to paint grapes in a still life, it's the same exact thing.
It's a great tip. It's a great tip.
The light side will be darker than the shadow side. And I know this about eyes, but it was because of David LaFell. He did a demo and he explained it, because I never really thought about it for grapes. And this morning I was thinking about what I was going to do, and I was like, oh, I'll show them the grapes, because it's translucent. Light passes through. Same with the eye, and that's how it works. So see, I just put a whole bunch of stuff down, but I have all that information. So I could go back and I could just paint that dog.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you just not afraid. Oh, okay. So I was really kind of looking at value, but I was limiting my choices. I only used yellow ochre, terra rosa, ultramarine blue. I'll do it in the order that I have it. Ultramarine blue, viridian, yellow ochre, transparent oxide red, white, and I did grab a little lemon yellow to brighten up that yellow ochre with the white.
And
And
what
then,
was the name of the medium you were using, John? That's one of the questions.
oh, I was using the Galkid gel, Gamblin Galkid gel. But you have new mediums now, right?
On Cobra,
Can I
we have a
use
painting paste. Yeah.
can I use it on
Yeah.
it's the same.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Just solvent free. Right?
So
It's
so
not going to make the paint water mixable. There's not enough of the emulsion
no,
component.
I know, but if I wanted to use Re Rembrandt brand, I could it's
So
just
there isn't a Rembrandt painting paste. There is a Talons painting paste and a Cobra painting paste.
Cobra. I
Yeah,
could use the
you
Cobra.
can
I
use the
meant to say
Cobra. Yeah,
Cobra. Meant to say Cobra, but
yeah.
I could use that.
You could. Yep.
So the same, it's a gel.
Yep.
Yeah. So it might even work better. It
You
might,
might.
well, no, the reason I'm saying this is because it is a painting paste. Does that mean it holds brush strokes?
Yes.
See, that might work better than I'm going to try it. I actually have some. I'm going to try it because that's one of the reasons that it's I'm always looking for that's what I want. I
Right.
don't I don't want my brush strokes leveled out and this is like an under I'm just kind of mushing around and stuff. But when I'm putting real brush strokes on, I would like it to so I'm gonna try it and I'll report back to
Give it
you.
a try. You let me know. Yeah, it isn't gonna, I mean, Galkid is an alkyd medium, so it also dries quickly. The paste is not going to dry any more quickly than the paint itself.
That doesn't that's not always a factor. It's just
Okay.
like if I'm on a deadline, I'll use a Galkid, not a Galkid, a titanium that has resin in it to speed things up. Um, but normally I don't care.
So I'm looking through some more of the questions here. It's so funny because you had brought this up to me not too long ago, but somebody's asking, is Rembrandt discontinuing Viridian? And the answer is no. Rembrandt in the oils and the watercolor still is the true Viridian, the PG18 pigment. It's a type of chromium oxide green, an inorganic pigment. I have not received any information from our manufacturing facility that they're going to be discontinuing that. Now, maybe there's a supply issue or some of the chemicals used to synthesize it are in having supply issues as well. But the Dutch usually are well stocked up. They are always thinking ahead. So nothing coming down the pike. Cobra, Van Gogh, Amsterdam, there's a Viridian hue. It isn't a true Viridian. It's a type of phthalo mixed with some black. I think it's PBK11.
What's
But,
that?
but the Rembrandt still is true Viridian in both the oils and the watercolor.
What does that exactly mean, though? Like
What's
the
that?
the that it's a synthetic and it's like, does it really
So
matter?
yeah, so there are essentially three categories of pigments. There's inorganic, organic, and synthetic. Inorganic are mineral-based pigments. Organic, of course, are plants and animals. And then synthetic, the pigments can begin as either inorganic or organic, and then they're synthesized, they're cooked up. Sometimes it's literally that. They're heated. They can be exposed to other chemicals or pigments. So synthesis or synthesized pigments have been around for as long as there have been pigments. Some of the oldest pigments like Naples yellow, lead white, these are all synthetic pigments. Today, most of the colors we work with are some type of synthetic pigment, and that's been great for artists today. We have more long-lasting archival colors, more variety of colors. The toxicity of colors has been reduced in many cases. There's lots of advantages to synthesizing pigments.
So it doesn't really matter though, as far as you know, like if you use that, it doesn't, there's no disadvantage to using the synthetics.
No, no,
They're stronger,
absolutely
right?
not. Usually it's advantageous because something has been taken out or added into the pigment to make it more stable, to make it more light fast. So usually there are advantageous reasons for synthesizing a pigment. And there are a lot of examples like PR 101, iron oxide red, which has been around forever. The synthesized version is really just a more pure version of the naturally found uh, iron oxide red. So there are a lot of advantages for colors to be synthesized.
And the other thing about them, aren't they, they're stronger, right? So you don't need as much. Is that true?
That's going to be more related to the characteristics and qualities of each individual pigment themselves. Some pigments have stronger tinting strength, some of them have better absorption, and so they're either fat or lean. There are a lot of other factors in there that relate to the working properties of a pigment, not necessarily the quality. That's always something that I like to differentiate, right? You've got the quality of a pigment, but then working properties are just the inherent characteristics or personality that each pigment has.
Because I know that sometimes, like if I would use a synthetic, um, I don't need, and mixing, I don't need as much of the pigment. Can you see?
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to take a picture. You can't. It's not doing it justice, is the
Yeah,
problem.
most of the pigments in an artist palette today are synthesized. It's just a fact of the modern painter's palette. So even ones that traditionally would have been just inorganic, and especially those that were historically organic pigments, almost all of them are going through some type of synthesis today
Huh.
to improve their performance. So even colors that you may not think of being as a synthetic pigment actually are in terms of how they have been manufactured and processed. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, so it's not just a matter of those pigments that are created in the lab, and that's where we tend to think of synthetic pigments. But even some of the basic pigments on our palette that we kind of think of as being natural to the earth or natural in some organic way have actually been through some type of processing today to make them make better results for the paint and our results in the paintings.
Interesting. Really interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so we just have to mention that I have a couple of workshops coming up
For
because
sure.
I'm not doing a lot of them this year. So I might do some online, but those are usually,
Now I'm going to post your website in the chat here, so folks,
Oh, okay.
yeah, you
So
go ahead.
in May, I'm teaching at Everett Kinsler's studio in Easton, Connecticut, and we have space. We got a good group already, but I have some space. And when I tell you it's an amazing place to paint, I have to prove how good it is. I've had the third floor studio, which is where I am right now. My painting group, I've been moving down there because a lot of everybody, my friends, they live down there. So and Peggy Kinsler has let us use Everett. Everett died a few years ago, and she loves having the studio used. And it is this massive, gorgeous studio with north light, and it's magical. It's like incredible, and I'm so thrilled that she loves to have us come. Our painting group, we're going in the week after next. But I had a workshop there last year, and I'm doing it again this year. And one of my models left the room, but Jack and Welly are coming because it's in Connecticut. So I'm gonna take Jack's going every day. And then in September, I'm doing a workshop at the Chatham, the Creative Arts Creative Arts Center in Chatham, Massachusetts, which is on the Cape. So I'll be there for that. And that should be a lot of fun too. But I've cut back, other than I may do a couple of, I just was exhausted from all the travel last year. So I love it, but at the same time,
Hard work. It's hard work.
it's hard work. Well, you know why? Because there's the prep before, and then you're gone for the week. And then when you come back, you don't just jump right in. You have to kind of acclimate yourself and get back into painting, your stuff. But anyway, so that's what's going on. You can check my website for it, and we'd love to have you. And we're going to do stuff like this, and it'll be fun. Yeah.
Awesome. So I posted the link to your website
Great.
in the chat on YouTube there. So folks definitely go and visit Johanne's website, and you can find out more about the workshops that are coming up. I did promise some folks who had asked earlier to share some of the new colors of Cobra. So
Oh, great. Yeah.
hold your horses here. I'm going to share my screen.
And
You're going to see them come up. There they are. There are the new colors.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
So these are the ones that are being added. So now we have 100 colors for Cobra. So we're getting close to the same number of colors as the Rembrandt line, which is 120.
Wow.
I
Awesome.
love that there's now a cool gray and a warm gray that's going to be in there. Nice red.
Yeah, cold gray.
Yep. A transparent red ochre, which is going to be really nice.
Wait a minute, where's that? Transparent red.
19. Yep.
Oh, transparent.
Now you
Wow.
see Viridian here.
Yeah.
As a new color. It's a Viridian hue, though. It's made with phthalo and black. There also now are some whites that are combination of, we've got the titanium white, safflower oil, no zinc, and then titanium white, linseed oil, no zinc. So they're zinc-free titanium whites, and one is just a safflower oil binder and the other is a linseed oil binder. So the linseed oil binder is going to dry a little bit more quickly than whites that are mixed with safflower. So those are some additions. The other whites will still be there.
Wow. That's awesome. That's huge.
It is. It's exciting.
And I know I got to get up to speed with the Cobras. Like I said, I'm a relic. Anyway, I just want to thank you because I'm so honored to be part of the Royal Talons group. You have no idea. I feel like it legitimizes me.
Oh, no. It's the other way around.
Great
Totally.
company and great products, and no. I really, I'm so grateful to be part of the group, and even more so since you've been with them.
Oh, well, thank you.
Well, Jeff, you brought so much to the table with all the education.
It's been a great experience. Yeah, it's a wonderful adventure. The great company to work for, great people, and all of our ambassadors and yourself especially have been fantastic. I've learned so much.
Really some kind of group. It's great. Yeah. All right. Well, I had a lot. I had a lot of fun.
I've got one more job to do before I leave, and that's to give away some paint.
Oh, yeah.
I got to give away some paint. So we got two winners. My little name sorter came up with two names. So I've got Sally Silzar. I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing your last name correctly. And Jane Shank. So Sally and Jane, you guys are winners of some paint. Somebody asked me if I could swap out Cobra, and I can. So you just tell me, reach out to me via messenger, direct messenger on our Facebook. Royal Talons NA, Royal Talons North America. Send me a quick note and I'll get you hooked up with your choice of either Rembrandt or Cobra. So congrats, yay.
Yay. That was worthwhile watching.
Absolutely. Always worthwhile, especially when we have wonderful guests like you, Johanne.
Oh, yeah. I'll take the compliment any way I can get it.
Well, you take care, and thank you, everybody. Join us for our next show, folks. It's going to be on the 11th of this month with Christine Lashley, and she's going to show us how she combines Rembrandt and Cobra together. So it should be interesting.
Oh, that's a really good show. I have to watch that. I have
Thursday,
to feel confident about that. That's what I'm going to, great. It's next Thursday?
Next Thursday, the 11th, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. Christine Lashley, one of our newest ambassadors. So that'll be exciting.
Oh, she's new?
She's brand new. Well, she's been kind of working with us informally for a while.
Yeah,
It was official in 2024.
Yeah, that's great. Yes, a good find. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you so much. And thanks everybody for watching. I really appreciate it.